How God works through us. It's all about the shoes. That's how God works through us, just so you know. So it's interesting because God is working through us all the time. And Reverend Petrus sent out a quote, and it's from one of Holmes' papers, where he talks about releasing the idea, or it's more than I'm a manifestation of God in form, like God is in me all the time. It is to recognize and to know that you are in God all the time. Like right here, right now, all of this around us is that energy that I call it quantum soup of the divine. And so obviously if we were living, breathing organisms in it all the time, then it's working through us all the time. And so I thought, well, that would be a really short talk. Done now. That's how it works. We're done. We're complete. Let's go eat. And then I thought about the four kingdoms of consciousness. It's been called that. It's also been called the four kingdoms of spiritual growth. And I'm sure many of you have heard about it. And I'm just going to review it with all of you because I think it's important to remember. And when I talk about the four kingdoms of consciousness, that's the way I'm going to refer to it because that's the way I first learned it. It's remembering that, yes, you move through these as you spiritually grow. And for me, I circle back to hit them all at different times in my life, depending on what's happening. So the first kingdom of consciousness is victimhood. It's victim consciousness. It's everything is happening to me. That, I don't really recognize or I don't want to know that there's a spiritual component in my life. I blame everything on everybody else. I take no responsibility for what's happening. It's that consciousness of poor me. Why did this happen to me? And so it's, and we have to remember, as babies, Vinny, you could say, is a representation of quote-unquote victim consciousness because Vinny depends on Tamara and Randy for everything right now, does he not? His whole life depends on them providing for him. And when he wants something, because I have calls with Randy, when he wants something, he lets them know. And if we've raised children or if you've been around small children, how do they let you know? They talk loudly, the only way they know how. Wah! And that's kind of when we're in victimhood consciousness, or when we want to play the victim. Is that not what we do? We fall right back into that. Wah! Poor me. Life sucks. This shouldn't have happened to me. And so to move out of victim consciousness, you have to give up blame. You have to quit blaming everybody else outside of yourself for everything that's happening in your life. You have to give up shame. How many of you maybe give up blame, but then you revert to shame? Like it's all my fault. Right? It's all my fault. Oh, and we play that record over and over again, and that will stop you right where you are. And here's the thing, because what we teach here is the more that you live in the past, the more that past will show up in your reality today. True? Anyway, that's what I believe. So I'm very careful about which tapes I play over and over again in my mind. And the other thing is regret. How many times do we think about, oh, I wish I'd done that? Oh, I wish I'd found, science of mind philosophy when I was 18. Or what if I'd been born in this philosophy? How would my life look different? I wasn't. My life is my life. To be grateful that I found it when I found it. Right? Instead of regretting. Because regret, you can't go back and change anything. Regretting isn't going to change the fact that I wasn't born into this philosophy. It's just going to keep me stuck in being sorry instead of owning the fact, well, thank you, God, that I found it when I did and that it changed my life. So when you begin to give up blame and shame and regret, you move in to the second kingdom of consciousness, which is the manifestation consciousness. And it's powerful. And it sometimes can look like control and power, because we forget that spirit has a part in this. Now, a lot of us here, we take classes, we take Beyond Limits, we start to learn about prayer and about manifesting and visualizing, and there's a little bit of a, whoa, look at me, look what I'm doing. I just created a parking spot right out in front of Nordstrom's, right? Or the grocery store, or I got to the airport, everybody told me there was going to be a lot of traffic, and I just got there and walked right in, and we start to realize that there's something powerful. However, in the second kingdom of consciousness, we really think it's all about us. We claim that as ours. Like, wow, I'm doing this. And we forget, we have started to awaken. There's a spiritual component to it, but we tend to get caught up in the headiness of what we can do. How many of you have been there? Like, if you can remember back to when you first walked in here, right? And it's like, whoa, I had no idea that if I put my mind to something that I could change my reality. This is powerful. Look at me. Look at me. And so what you have to do to move into the third kingdom of consciousness is give up control and power. I know. Because, did you say no? Oh. No, I'm not doing that. So the third kingdom is surrender. And that, for a lot of us, can have a negative connotation. Because surrender means waving, sometimes in our mind, waving a white flag, handing all of our power over to another entity, thing, person, like I have nothing. And what surrender means here is I recognize that God is working through me. And how powerful that can be to start to recognize the ability to allow that power to work through us. To really take a breath and think, wow, there really is something to this meditation when I do it on a regular basis. I can really start to listen and to hear that still small voice within guide me. And really, when you give up power, there's a whole different kind of power in that, isn't there? To really go, wow, this is amazing. This is amazing. And to really start to feel that inside of yourself. And then there's some of that battle going on. Because even as God is through me, there's still a note of separation. Is there not? God is this thing, and it's working through me. And that's because your ego is playing a part in that reality. So to get into the consciousness of Kingdom 4, you have to kind of let go of your ego. Now, you can never get rid of your ego. Please know that your ego is your friend. It has kept you safe most of your life. And so don't think, oh, well, now I'm just not going to have an ego. You're going to have an ego. You're human. However, it's changing the responsibility of the ego into being a player on the team, as Bernie would say, instead of the coach. Now you're going to let that divine presence be you. So the fourth kingdom of consciousness is called unity or enlightenment. If or when, for me, when I lived there, and if I could live there all the time, this is where the mystics live. In that place of absolute knowingness that they're God, that they're one. It's not God through them, it is God as them. It is that power to realize there is no separation. that instead of God through me, I am living right now in what I personally call the quantum soup of the divine. Think about that. It can be powerful and scary at the same time. Because if I really get that right here, right now, it and I are one, that's a lot of responsibility, I think. It's like, well, wait a minute. That really means when I say something, I can create it. The stronger my belief, the quicker it will happen. Because anything that I say, if it's not happening immediately, I have to go back and check in. Why don't I want that to show up right now? What is it about me that is disconnecting that good that I claim in my life? Do you understand that it really is a powerful presence? And it's knowing that unity. And we all go there. I have moments there. Sometimes I have hours there. I don't know that I've given myself the opportunity to spend a day in that consciousness. And as you all know, and I'll say this, and you're like, oh God, here she goes again, because I have to drive places. So that will pull me right out of my mystic consciousness and put me right back into the reality of, maybe victimhood, or maybe the second kingdom of consciousness. 3 and 4, kind of not living there sometimes. And so it's but I think the power is to recognize what are the 4 kingdoms of consciousness, and to really recognize, look how I'm behaving right now, and what kingdom of consciousness is that? And what if, when I realize I'm in victim consciousness, what if I took a breath and thought, what if I just shifted out into manifestation consciousness? Because if you've read any of Esther Hicks' books, Asking It Is Given is my favorite. She talks about levels of vibration. And it's the same, I believe, with consciousness. I don't think it's a good idea to be in victimhood consciousness and then go, okay, I'm just going to be in Kingdom 4. Could you do that? Probably. I think it's a good idea to recognize I'm in victimhood consciousness and take a slow ride up, right? Because we're a spiral, always and ever expanding. So I'm in victimhood consciousness right now. Somebody has made me mad, and it's their fault that I am angry. So how could I shift that? How could I get out of victimhood consciousness and make it manifestation consciousness? I could probably look at, well, why am I angry? What is it about what that person said that, come on in, ladies. Hi. What is it about what they said that pushed a button in me? And then if I get into Kingdom 4, once I realize, okay, I had something to do with that, and I allow God to work through me, then it's about, okay, where in my heart can I maybe let this go, or have a conversation with this person, or release this? And when I realize we're all one, then there really is no blame or shame, right? Then maybe somebody could say something, and I could stay so centered into the truth of who I am that whatever they said would not affect me. Have you ever had those moments where somebody has said something to you in the past and it's really pushed a button, and you've started to work on it and release it and let it go and start to really realize it's not about them, it's about me. What in me do I need to heal? And then you heal it, and then the next time that person or another person says something, it's like, has no effect on you whatsoever. It's a powerful, place to be, to realize that the four kingdoms of consciousness are all you. And you're always at choice. Every single one of us, always at choice on how we behave or how we react or what we say. And sometimes people say things unconsciously. And they have no intent behind what they've said. Right? And yet, it's like a dagger in our heart. And so to really sit with, when that dagger hits you, what kingdom of consciousness am I in? Right here and right now. How am I behaving? And what if I moved and kept moving up? And then I realized that there is no separation. That person and I are one. It's an amazing place to be. And I'm not going to say it's easy on this human plane. It's a practice. I think the two people living right now that probably do it the best and the most often are the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. Those are two people constantly smiling, right? You see pictures of them, they're always smiling. And it's not, when people smile, and then when they smile and their eyes light up, that's when you know it's an inside-out job. That smile on their face is just a reflection of the light inside of them that is so bright that they need to share it, and that's how they share it. And for me, that's is it a goal? That's my place I want to be. That's how I want to learn to live. Is that place where I can't help but smile because the light within me is burning so brightly that it will not be contained. Now, enough of you have been around me long enough to know I have work to do in this area, and I'm okay with that. I invite each of you to look within and think to yourself just for a moment, what would it be like to have that kind of light? Because here's the truth. Every single one of you here has that light within you. Every single one of you. And each one of us, for whatever reason, whatever we've been told, have chosen, consciously or unconsciously, have chosen, I will not shine my light that brightly. Either out of fear or because we have no idea what would happen to us if we became that bright. Would we lose all our friends? Would people walk around and go, that person is way too happy? Right? So I invite each of you to remember, if nothing else today, remember who you are. Remember that not only are you God informed, you are living in the container of the divine. You can call it quantum soup. You can call it the metaphysical field of goulash. Whatever you choose to call it. Each and every one of us, there is no separation between it and us or it and each other. And so how do we live from that place? How do we start to know and feel that and be that? And to really understand the universe is never against us. Never against us. No matter what's going on in our life. I have never had a situation that has happened to me that eventually, on the other side of it, sometimes years later, I can look back and go, oh yeah, now I know why. In the midst of it, had no idea the universe was for me. Probably played the victim card really heavy. That's a choice on this plane. So I invite each of you to find a way to turn up your light. If nothing else, I promise that if everybody else goes, what is wrong with that person? I will be the one person that will encourage you to shine brighter. That's why we're here. Every single one of us, to shine brighter. To be and believe in that which we cannot see. It's called faith. So I'll give you a story about faith. The board, which I did a gratitude for this morning in the circle because they stepped into something that we don't know if it's going to happen or how it's going to happen, but we went and looked at that church in Burien on 143rd. We actually went inside and walked around, and it's amazing. First of all, because I realize how little storage we have here, that's what struck me. Oh my God, there's so much storage. There's so many places to put things. We don't have enough stuff to put in all the places they have stuff. They have, correct me, board, if I'm wrong, 5 different children's areas, maybe 6. 5 or 6 different children's areas. They have one area that is probably not up in the bistro, but half this floor down here, just for their kids. And they had a sound guy just for their kids. They were doing Sunday service for their kids. Can you imagine? Because I want you to. There was a kitchen. There was a huge hospitality area. I wish Kyle was here because there was a sound booth where a sound person would sit. I wish the band could hear me because not only was the band on the stage, the drummer was behind glass. If you're a musician, you would realize how important that is, because then you can really mic the drums because it plays through the glass. Drums can be very, very loud. And there was a room for the band. And practitioners and ministers next to the stage, there was a room for practitioners and ministers to be on Sunday morning that were in service, to go and meet and be conscious with each other before service started, and intentional. Now, I'm not saying that this is our new home. I am just saying that all of us that call Genesis home to feel the vibration of something bigger than this. Because this is fabulous, and I know for a lot of you, there's a hanging on to this. This was the first place maybe you found a spiritual home, and so it's like, no, we don't want to move ever. And I get that. And understand the vision for Genesis is bigger than the container of this space. And I know that because if we had bigger areas for kids, more kids would show up. If we had a hospitality area, more of you would hang out after service on Sunday. And the nice thing about hospitality is it's downstairs. So you know what happens in meditation? It's quiet. How cool would that be? It's quiet. And so I just invite you, as you move into those different states of consciousness, to start with me personally, with the board, what it would be like if we owned our own building. Because we were given an endowment by B and Barb Westcott Curl. And that is the intention, and the only intention of that money they gave us. It sits there and waits for us. And so, like I said, I don't know if this is the perfect home, but I invite you and encourage you to start, if you're in meditation, start to think about, what would you like a permanent home for Genesis to look like that has storage and a hospitality area and a place for kids. And a kitchen. This had a kitchen. And a great place for a bookstore that would be right part of the hospitality area, so that when we're down there socializing, if we wanted to, we could jump up. It's not separate. And someplace we have to go to, it would just be part of the flow. There are great things that we can do as a community, and so I invite you to start to feel that and to remember to turn up your light, to be that powerful presence. Because the only person that is stopping you from doing that is you. Trust me, if I knew where your switch was, I would sneak up on you and give it a little turn. So let's pray. So breathing into this that is. Feeling that vibration. And like Bernie, if you want to reach out, you can feel it. He was probably just stretching, but you can feel it. Feel the energy of the person sitting next to you. And realize that between the two of you is that divinity, that divine essence. Knowing that it is powerful. It is a presence that exists and has always existed. It is in and through and as each one of us. It is the container of good that I choose to call God. There is no separation between it and me or it and you. We are all one, part of that vibration, part of that energy. And so I know right here and right now, as I claim that good as mine, I claim that good as each of you. I know for each of you that you find it in yourself sometime today, this week, whenever, to just ask yourself, what would it look like if I shined a little bit brighter? What would it look like if I stepped into my magnificence? What would it look like if I truly knew, without a doubt, I am here to be bold and brave and courageous? And so that is the gift that we are given today, to know that truth. I am bold. I am courageous. I am beautiful. I am beyond what I have ever dreamed myself to be, because I am not only God in form, I am living in God's stuff. And so I let go of all the doubt and fear and step into that, which is always saying yes to me. And so it's in that yes that today I say yes back. And so I say thank you, God. Thank you for this time, for this space, for this knowing. Thank you for this community. How blessed we are, knowing there's no mistake in spirit. So how blessed we are to all be here together right here and right now. Calling it good, knowing it's God, I turn all of this over. I say thank you, and so it is. And together we say, and so it is.